In this video, we're going to talk about how to prep some of our drawings and save it in the layout method that we want. So what you should have open right now is your English drawing template, the one that we're going to use anytime we have pieces that are in inches. And I never, ever, ever want to draw on this thing. It's just purely for the layout so I can edit a title block later on. So the first thing I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to just go up to Save As up here. And I am going to name this essentially the name that I want it to be. So this one is the guide plate, so I'm going to say 1 dash guide plate, and I'm going to save it in a location that I can grab it later on. So in my case, I like to save it into my Google Drive. Maybe you do it in your student drive. Doesn't matter a whole heck of a lot. So maybe I put in my CAD Basics right there. And notice how the file type is different as well. So I need to change that from a template to just regular old drawing at the very, very top. So notice you have the name, and it should be in DWG. And yes, I'm going to save it over that. Okay, so as you are ready to start to build this thing, you want to make sure that first off you're in the object layer, because this is going to separate when we do dimensions and we do hidden lines, when we do section lines and all that good stuff. Now your layout may be a little bit different. I'm on AutoCAD 2023 right now, but you need to make sure that you are on the object layer, and it should be kind of that bright teal blue. So then you go in, you build your piece, and then you'll be ready to finish up. So I'm actually going to pause the video. I'm going to create the actual object, and then we're going to move on to the next step. So now I have my objects ready to go. Everything is in the object layer. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dimension it. And we'll learn a bunch of rules about how to dimension properly. But for right now, we're just going to copy what is on the drawing that's provided to you. So this is just a double check to make sure that everything is right. Now for dimensioning, I'm going to go up to my layers, and instead of being in the object layer, I'm going to go to the dimension layer. And notice how everything I put down is going to be in red. So to dimension it, and again, your ribbon may look different, I'm going to annotate, because that's where my dimension tool's at. And I'm just going to hit dimension. And basically, I'm just going to go around and dimension everything in the same way that it is on the document. Some of these snaps might be a little bit weird. This one's nice because I can just grab that line and say, hey, 6.5, cool. So I'm going to kind of pull that up a little bit. Maybe I slap it right there. What else do I have? Kind of the distance from here to the circle. So maybe I click on the corner right there, and I get the center of that circle. And notice how it's kind of off at an angle. Eventually, it'll snap back to parallel, and we can move it around once we're done with all that other shenanigans. And I can kind of keep doing the same thing. So I can just click right on the circle itself, and it should give me the diameter there. We can do the diameter here. Maybe to get that 2.5, I'm going to click on this guy and this guy instead of the line and kind of pull it over here, and on and on and on. So again, basically it should match up with what is on the document. So just to save you some time, I'm going to pause the video again. I'm going to make sure all the dimensions are in and in the right spot, and then we'll finish this bad boy off. Okay, so now I've dimensioned everything, and basically what I've done is I have taken all of these dimensions and I rearrange them just a little bit so it looks more similar to what's on the document. So just kind of making sure the biggest ones are on the outside, making sure you can see everything, somewhat lining these guys up. Get it close to what you see on the page. And as long as everything's matching up, you're probably in a good spot. So now we have our model ready to go. So this is our model space. Before we ship this bad boy out, we need to put it into a paper layout. So if you go down here where it said model and click on it, you'll go back to your paper space. And if you ever want to go back, just jump over here to model, and you'll go back into the model space itself. So again, I'm going to click on model. It's going to send me over to the paper, so I can play around with that stuff. Now I want to rearrange this so it's a little bit nicer to see. So I'm going to double click in the area where I have my piece, and you'll see that it kind of becomes active on the inside, and we get some new options that we see down here. And the most important one that we need right now is your scale. So we have a bunch of different scales. We can make it a specific ratio. If you look back on your assignment, the guide plate has a ratio of 1 to 2. So we're just going to match that in our document right here. So it says 1 to 5. I'm going to click on that and say 1 to 2. And then maybe I pan a little bit so everything is centered. You can always go back to the model space to change it if you need to, but that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to double click off of that space so I don't have to mess with the shape anymore. And then I'm just going to change the data indicated on the title block. So I'm going to say drawn by, double click on that spot, and then type in my name. Do the same thing, double click on file. This is called 1-guide plate, and it's going to be mad at me because of spaces, so maybe I just change it up and say 1_guide_plate. All right, it like that. The date right now is 8/27, and the scale that I created was 1:2. And again, you just double click on those to get in there. I'm going to hit escape one more time to get out of it. And now we are ready to turn this bad boy into a PDF.